Hello, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to today's video, which is the over 30 book tag. And I thought this was the perfect time to do this video because it's my birthday. I turn 32 on January 11th, and let's be real, in booktuber years, I am basically an old crone, but I really loved this tag. It has helped me discover some other booktubers who are around my age, but I also really loved the questions. Thought some of them were actually particularly hard to answer, but I'm going to give it like a college try and see how we do. So why don't we dive right in? So question one is, name one of your favorite books that features a protagonist who is 30 years old or older. And honestly, I love a book that has an older protagonist because I think that there is so much nuance to their story, because the characters have so much backstory themselves that informs their actions. And I just like that. In fact, I wish there were more sort of books out there that had these older protagonists in them, because I am drawn to them. And I think that's something that is true kind of across the board. Like when I think about the actresses I admire, they're all 60 years and older. Like, we know Helen Mirren is my queen, but there's also Kristen Scott Thomas. There is also Leslie Manville. There is Harriet Walter. Like, I could ramble off some names. Maggie Smith. I just like these older women. I think they are so powerful, and I love the stories that they can tell as older actresses as well. So across the board, this is something I enjoy. So I could have picked quite a few books here. I could have talked about several of Meg DeZabo's books. I could have even talked about the Outlander series, because I think basically after book 3, Claire and Jamie are in their late 40s, early 50s, or older. But the book I want to talk about is Leisureseeker by Michael Zadurian, I believe is how you pronounce the last name. I first discovered this book because I watched the movie with Helen Mirren. Shocker, I know. I watched that on a plane. I ugly sobbed. My mother was sitting next to me. I'm pretty sure she thought I needed to be like tranquilized. But after I watched that movie, as I often do, I decided I needed to read the book that it was based off of. I made the mistake of reading this book on the train while commuting, and once again, I ugly sobbed in public, so that's always a fun time. But this was just a really, really touching story that hit me in the feels in the best possible way. It is about these two older characters. They've been married for years, but the wife is sick. The husband is dealing with dementia, and she basically decides to take them on a road trip. And it is about the two of them and their marriage and this road trip that they're taking in their later years in life in this like RV that they used to use when their children were growing up. And it was just really, really touching. As I said, it hit me in the feels in the best possible way. It is definitely a tearjerker of a book, but I personally love that in a book. And I think the way that it deals with aging, the way it deals with illness, the way that it addresses something like dementia was all quite powerful. So I would highly recommend it. It is not a book that I talk about often on this channel because I think I actually read it well before I started this channel, but it is a book that I think about quite regularly and always say that I need to reread. It's also a movie that I should probably rewatch in the near future. Then we move on to question 2, which is to name a book that represents who you were when you were younger. Very easily, I can say Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I read that when I was quite young. I was probably in middle school, but just barely, and I absolutely loved it. And I, at the time, saw myself in Jo March. I at the time wanted to be a writer. I think that's something that anyone who is a bookworm can probably relate to. There was at least a moment where you contemplated being a writer because you wanted to write books, because you loved them so much. And so her writing and wanting to be a writer sort of resonated with me, but there was just something about her as a character that I felt I could see myself reflected in. I thought she was really strong and determined, and I hoped that that was what I was. And just overall, the warmth that that book gave me was something that still makes me think of my childhood, and so that is very much the book that I say represents me when I was younger. The book itself was probably a bit of a challenge for younger me. As I said, I was quite young when I read it, but that also is kind of on brand. I was never reading the books that were age appropriate. So that's probably another reason why I think about that book. Then we have 3, which is to name a book that represents where you are in your life now. This one was actually pretty difficult for me. I don't know why. I think if I had to guess, it's because there's a level of self-awareness that you have to have, and maybe that's uncomfortable. I know I'm not someone who necessarily likes to talk about myself. Shocking, I know, because I have a booktube channel, but the worst thing you can ask me is to tell me a bit about yourself, because my entire personality goes out the window. I have no recollection of who I am and what I like or don't like. It's a thing. It's a problem. But I think that the book I actually settled on for this one is Michael Ondaatje's The English Patient. And this is because of one particular character, Catherine. And maybe this is aspirational more than anything else, but I feel like there's something about Catherine that resonates with who I am now as an adult. She was, I believe, Oxford educated, very, very well read, and kind of voraciously learned things. In her case, it was about the desert, which plays a large role in The English Patient. And those are all traits that I can certainly see in myself. I am obviously an avid reader. I am constantly wanting to learn, constantly seeking out more knowledge, but she's also someone who is quite assertive, and I think in my adult life, I have learned how to be assertive, how to ask for things, and how to not let people, just kind of roll over me. I know what I want, and I pursue it, sometimes myopically, I will admit that, but I do think that some of that strength in her is something that speaks to me now as an adult. And like I said, it could be completely aspirational. She's not a perfect character. She's flawed, but I do think that there's something about her that 32-year-old me finds really, really reflective of who I am or who I want to be. And this is also a book that I think speaks to me as an adult, because I do think it's a Marmite book. And when I say that, I mean basically that it's a book that some people love and some people hate. And really, to be honest, I feel like that probably sums me up pretty well. I would like to think that no one hates me, but I do know that I am a bit quirky and that my personality isn't going to be for everyone, which I think anyone can say. But I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that there are going to be some people who find me and my personality endearing and others who find it really grating. So again, that's probably part of why I picked this book. So the next question is, name a book that represents something that has never changed about you. And this was funny because I thought this was going to be hard, and then it actually ended up being easy when I was just honest with myself. And so the book that I chose for this is Catherine the Great by Robert K. Massey, which everyone is probably tired of hearing me talk about, but let's be real. Like, this is a book that probably sums up who I am pretty well. There are certain books that I think about and I automatically think of a particular booktuber, like Mrs. Dalloway with Claire Fenby. This might be that book for some people, and if it's not, let me know what the book is. But essentially, this book sums up the fact that I have always loved history. I have always loved powerful women throughout history. I have always loved Russian history. I think from when I was a kid learning about Anastasia and watching that like Warner Brothers cartoon movie that everyone thinks is Disney but is not. Like learning about Anastasia and what happened to her family, I did fairly young. I learned about their assassination. So this is something that has not changed. I mean, I went on to fall in love with Russian literature. I went on to study it at school. And so all of those things really encompass who I have always been, a lover of history, a lover of Russian history in particular, a lover of these powerful women who in a lot of cases have not necessarily been given their due, because they have kind of been put in the footnotes or not represented properly by male historians over the centuries. So this to me just sums up everything that I love, everything that I hold dear. So yeah, that's that. Question 5 is to name one of your favorite classics. This was easy. I love so many classics, but the one that comes to mind first and foremost is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Again, that Russian thing, never gonna die. I just stan it, but this is one of the books that I have read and reread. It's a book that I see myself rereading. For me, Tolstoy is like the pinnacle of incredible writing, and the character of Anna Karenina is tragic, and the story is just so vibrant when it talks about all of these different characters, the different families, and how they all connect in some way, but also looking at the society in Russia at the time. And it's just one of these books that I feel like every time I read it, I will get something a little bit different out of it. The first time I read it, I was 15. The second time I read it, I was 30. I'm hoping to reread it, hoping that I don't take 15 years to do so, but it's just one of these books that I absolutely adore, and actually I have 3 editions of it at this point. That's how much I love it. Hold on. So we have the edition that I've read twice, the Barnes & Noble's classic, Anna Karenina. Most recently, thanks to my parents, I acquired this gorgeous edition, Anna Karenina, which is the, what edition is this? This is the Penguin Classics, the cloth-bound cover, and I am absolutely in love with it. And then earlier in 2021, I acquired this, which I know doesn't look like Anna Karenina because it's like not even 400 pages, but this is a movie tie-in for the 1948 movie with Vivien Leigh, who is on the cover, that basically what's in the movie is what's in the book, and so they've pared it down to basically just the romance, and I just wanted it. I don't know that I'd ever read this edition, but I loved that it was this movie tie-in. The book itself is from 1948. It's a little bit worn, but it has that old book smell. Like, this book is from 1948, and it just has that smell. Book lovers will know what I'm talking about. But yes, so I love it so much. I have 3 copies, and I wouldn't be surprised if I acquired more over the years. And then the last question is, name a book you like or would like to read that was published in the year you were born. So I was born in 1990, and the book that I chose was Possession by A.S. Byatt. And this is a book that, honestly, I feel like every time I go to like a Barnes & Noble's, I see it and I contemplate buying it, and for whatever reason I don't. but it has this stunning, stunning cover. And it's this book that I know won a Booker Prize, I'm guessing in 1990 or 1991. So I honestly don't know a ton about this book. I've seen it kind of described in this kind of pretentious exploration of postmodern novels or something of the sort, which I think is why I've always kind of hesitated to pick it up. But it's also about these two academics who are following the paper trail of these two fictional poets from the Victorian era. And so it intrigues me on several levels because of the like academic side and the Victorian setting. And honestly, the cover is just absolutely striking. So this is a book that at some point I would like to read. As I've said, I eye it every time I go into Barnes and Nobles. So one of these days I will definitely pick it up. So yeah, those are the answers to the over 30 book tag. If you are over 30, I would love to know your answers to these. As I said, some of them I knew straight at the jump. Others took some thinking, but I had a lot of fun trying to figure those out. But I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe, because that means the world to me, and it also helps this little channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!